What's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Vid Mondo. Go check it out. Also, Mafia family, you know what to do. Raise your man to the top with that like button. But look, I know I'm late, and I'm talking about really late. This movie came out. When did this movie come out? I don't even know when it came out. It came out a long time ago. I just know I'm super late on it. But that's not even the point. The point is, I finally watched it, and I watched it because it came with Peacock. So that's pretty dope. Shout out to Peacock for releasing some really, good movies early. So that's why I decided to watch it. When I saw the trailer for this film, I'll be completely honest in saying that I was like, oh, it's gonna be bad. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna even touch this film. At least I'm not paying for it. But when I saw that it was free on Peacock, I said, you know what? Why not give it a shot? I'll just take a look at it. I'll watch it for a few minutes, and then I'll bounce out. And I finally realized a little bit later than I should have that this was, created by M. Night Shyamalan. How do you say this guy? M. Night Shyamalan? I don't know how to say his name. I am not like a real movie reviewer. Can you tell? Oh no, you can't tell. Cool. So it's M. Night Shyamalan, whatever his name is. I'm just gonna say M. Night. All right. Look, when I saw he made it, I was like, all right, this is my guy. Everybody hates his movies. I love all his movies. Oh, the last movie he made, what was it? What was the name of that movie? What was it called? Old or something like that? Old? I want to say it was called Old. I freaking love that movie, dude, and everybody hated it. So I love M. Night Shyamalan's movies. And the other movie he made with the grandparents, oh my goodness, The Visit or something like that. I love that movie. Everybody be hating on M. Night Shyamalan, but I just love this man's movies. Now, what about this film? Let me just tell you. I'm going to give it a 8.2 out of 10 because it was amazing. All right, it was amazing. And I did not know that this film would delve so much into religion. I just had no idea. You know what I mean? When I saw, I was like, it's gonna be like a little cheesy little, man, it dives so much into religion. And I love films like this. And I'm like, Hollywood doesn't understand how many people want more films that have a pinch of religion in it. There's just so many. We're not talking about the Exorcist or exorcisms. I wish they would throw those all out. I'm talking about real real religious topics, man. This is dope. Now, kind of starts off, and it starts off right away. I love films that just jump right into it. I hate films that make you go on this long breadcrumb chase. The little girl's outside playing. Dave Bautista walks up within 2 minutes of the film starting. Thank you, appreciate it. And right away, he like, well, we have a conversation. We need to talk to your two dads. All right, we got to talk to them. Like within the first 5 minutes, you already going. And, within about the first 10 minutes, they're already trying to break into the cabin. I'm like, let's go, man. Now we're talking. Let's go. So anyway, basically you have these four strangers who had this vision. They all come together. And I'm not sure why they picked this family or why they picked this cabin. But apparently they go to this cabin. They find, a couple, two guys and a daughter. And they knock on the door and say, hey, we really want to talk with you. And of course, the two guys get very, very nervous and like, what's supposed to happen? What we're doing? And they are very apprehensive about the fact that these people are out of nowhere wanting to come in and speak to them. But eventually, it gets real crazy, and the S word hits the fan, and those four individuals start to break into the cabin, and they get inside the cabin, and it's like it's a wrap. Because look, I don't care how big and how strong you are. Dave Bautista is very imposing. Very imposing. And I was very surprised to see the little girl talking to Dave Bautista without like being nervous. I'm like, even I, as a Detroit born, well, she had to be about what 7 or 8 in this movie or something like that. Even a 7-year-old Rick the Dawn and from Detroit, Michigan, seeing a lot of stuff would have been like, I'm out. I don't even want to talk, bro. I don't even want to talk. But no, they start to inundate these two individuals with information saying that, hey, you two can prevent the apocalypse, and if you say no, things can happen. Plagues will be released. Now, plagues, again, is a religious themed concept in my personal opinion. When I heard the word plague, my mind immediately went to Moses and Genesis and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. So they don't believe it, and one is more susceptible to what he's hearing than the other guy. And the other guys is like, look, I'm going to call their bluff on this. I don't want any part of this. This feels like an intrusion. This feels like they're actually bullying us because, the two guys in the film are in a same-sex relationship. So he feels like this is discrimination of some sort. And Dave Bautista does an amazing job with trying to convey like, hey, this has nothing to do with your, sexual orientation. This is all about a calling, something I was called to do, something I feel passionate about that has superseded my own understanding, right? And they kind of call bluffs and say, look, I'm the first guy, Redman, says, are you going to accept the fact that you must kill or one of you must die in order to save the entire world? And I think that's a good question to ask you. Would you, right now, for the people in your household, sacrifice somebody for the entire world, knowing that if you did not do it, the whole world would end? That's the question that M. Night Shyamalan, that's the question that he had to have written down on a sheet of paper before constructing the narrative for this film. And man, is that a good question or what? Right? It's a great question. Great question. Would you do that? Would you do that? I don't want to answer it. I don't want to answer it. You can answer it though. The comment section. Would you sacrifice somebody in your household right now? Not your dog, by the way. I know you don't like your dog, but it's one of the people in the house. Would you sacrifice them for the entire world? Right? And again, I think this is like a religious thing in a lot of ways, because if you know anything about the Bible, then this is kind of what God had to do. He sacrificed his son, Jesus Christ, to save the world. So it's kind of like, I wonder if M. Night Shyamalan, I wonder if he had that narrative in his mind as he was constructing this narrative. It makes me wonder. Or even if you go back to like Abraham, and having to potentially sacrifice his son, just to show God that he loved him, right? It's a lot of, like I said, religious themes within this film. I really, really enjoyed that. The first attempt to get these people to understand the gravity of the decision fails. And as such, the most shocking thing happens, and that is the first character has to be sacrificed. Now, that is where the film takes a different turn for me. Up until that point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if they say no, it won't matter. But once you see Redmond go down, you're like, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And you realize that this is pretty serious. And then it kind of keeps going. And then, I'm sorry, once Redmond goes down, they turn the television on and they see that having not accepted Redmond's proposal, a plague has been released on the world. And this is about where it starts to take a dip in terms of not being a 9 or a 10, because the way that they did the programming on the TV seemed very, very fake, very fake. Like if I was in the cabin and Redmond just sacrificed himself, and then Dave Bautista turns on the TV and it looked that way, I would be like, bro, who you think you playing with? You playing with me? Are you serious? You playing, right? You guys are a cult. And that doesn't look remotely real, because I've watched several newscastings over my life to this point, and they never look like that. They never stick to a point or to a topic that well. Like the minute he turned on the TV, the lady's like, there was a plague just released. I'm not, she didn't say it like that. She said, just in, a huge wave just swallowed a group of tourists. And the way that the wave is shot is like whoever shot this had to be looking at the wave like, all right, here we go. Here's my moment. Just completely ignoring the fact that he's about to die or she's about to go. All right. It's like, if this was real, they would have been running. Matter of fact, it wouldn't even been no footage, because that wave was so big. Nobody's going to stand there like, all right, here's my time. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get a lot of likes for this. Man, you're going to be dead. So it's just like, that's the part. It kind of broke immersion for me, because I'm like, nobody's going to capture this footage this way. And then, the second person offers the same proposal, and every time they deny the proposal, another plague is released. And the second plague, I believe it was planes falling out the sky. And I'm like, who's recording this one? Like somebody's underneath the plane, like, all right, y'all, here we go. Like, please, if I saw planes fall out the sky like that, I'm out of there, and we'll figure out the rest later. So, that's about when it starts to lose a little bit of its credibility and lose a little bit of what it's going for. But then one of the two gentlemen started to kind of break down and say, hey, man, this seems a little real. Like, hey, and I give them credit for staying in the moment, staying in the film, despite the newscastings looking kind of fake and artificial. They stayed within character, and that's what brings you back in. All right, that's what brings you back in, is because it's like, hey, man, that's a little crazy. Like, you just did this, and then that happens. And the guy that's very skeptical still is like, look, man, this can be fake. They timed this all out. There's no way that this is real. They had this all set up and planned out. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching, bro, listen, I'm gonna tell you, as a real person outside of this universe, this is baloney. But if I'm in the universe and I'm saying this, bruh, this is real, okay? Because nobody is planning this way. Because if this was happening prior to them going into the cabin, they would have heard like, hey, man, did you hear about what's going on around the world? There's a lot going on, there's waves and all this kind of chaos. They certainly would have already had some understanding of what Dave Bautista was about to tell them. Because he could have said, well, no, that was happening yesterday. So the fact that they had no prior knowledge of all this stuff going on, and then Dave Bautista is telling them this and then showing them this, they should have just been like, hey, all right, okay, all right, I believe you, because that wasn't happening yesterday. This is all happening real time. That's about when I thought that they might have bought in. But anyway, they don't buy in. And eventually all four people die. And let's talk about the last death, Dave Bautista's death, because I thought that one was pretty interesting, because he lets them know like, hey, after I sacrifice, or after he sacrificed himself, they have minutes before it's too late and all of humanity is doomed. And this is another area where it lost a little bit, right? Because Dave Bautista does sacrifice himself. Very intense scene up until that point, as far as them fighting and trying to gain control of the situation. A firearm is brought into the picture and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Dave Bautista eventually sacrifices himself. And, the two guys are having this romantic banter about, he said we had about a minute left. I'm like, 10 minutes later, if we don't hurry up, we're out of time. 15 minutes later, is it going to be you or me? That's about when it loses. I'm like, come on, dude. Come on. All right, like 30 minutes has elapsed, and you guys are still talking about if you're going to do this or not. But eventually, they do come to grips, and one of the individuals chooses to be sacrificed, and the other guy shoots the guy. And that's where it ends. And they turn the TV on once again for that very artificial newscasting. And right on cue, the lady's like, hey, we have good news. Everything's good now. Everyone's safe. The water that was just up, above your head is now back at sea level. The planes are now landing safely. I was like, bro, it never happens that way. There would have been like a Wendy's commercial, got my biggie bag. Then they would have came on. They would have said a few words. They would have had a little clip of Donald Trump. Donald Trump just said this. Kanye West would have came on. Kanye West just smacked his cousin. Then they would have came back like, all right, everybody, we back. We finally back. And look, it would have been something like that. But no, as soon as they turn the TV on, it's like, everything's good, y'all. They did a good job with the sacrificing. And they, but one part that I really, really enjoyed about this film was the fact that they are able to make the connection to the Four Horsemen. I absolutely love the Four Horsemen. I can't wait to come back. Look, I love the Four Horsemen because it's like, it's all about Revelations is one of my favorite books in the Bible. So it's like, just seeing a movie that acknowledges that makes me very happy inside. So I was happy to see that. I was happy to see the narration and how they connected the dots. And yes, it was about the Four Horsemen. And I also like the way that they connected the Four Horsemen to the four pivotal things. What was it? Don't quote me on this. It's been a while since I watched it. I watched it like last week. It was Malice. That was Redmond. It was Nurturing. That was the doctor. Right. It was Malice, Nurturing. It was Caring. I forget the other one. It was Nurturing. It was hold up. What was it? What was it? It was Malice. It was Nurturing. It was Health, right? Healthcare, something like that. And then it was Guidance, right? And that's what each of the four characters represented. I love that part. And apparently they were the Four Horsemen. Now, if you read the Bible, and don't quote me on this. I hate being quoted when it comes to the Bible. I don't even like talking about the Bible sometimes. But I was just a little confused because I'm like, okay, the Four Horsemen, they don't come back as these very compassionate, helpful people. Not that I remember. My memory serves me as saying they came back like ready to do some damage. That's what I remember. If I read it, I need to read it again. Okay, I'm exposing myself. I got to read that again because I'm like, the last time I read it, it wasn't about like coming back in peace and trying to make peace with people. It was like we coming back to create some things. So that was the confusing part for me as well. I was just like, I don't understand how this is okay, but I'm gonna ride with it. Perhaps the reason we haven't seen the real Four Horsemen come back and shut it all down is because they always come back like this first to kind of give people an option. And then that's when they start to go crazy and start causing chaos. So I gave it that much. I said, okay, fine. So anyway, the film ends with the one guy saying, hey, this is real. He doesn't say it verbally, but you see it on his face. Great acting, by the way. Like, this was real. I had no idea. And it makes you wonder, Could they have made this decision earlier? And I'm going to say probably not. Just answer my own question. Get out the way. Because nobody is going to first believe them on the first, you got 4 chances to get this right. The first one, he was automatically going to go because it's like, there's no way this is real. Okay. The second one, debatable. But I'm going to say they're going to probably say that was coincidence. There's no way this is real. Then by the third one, I'm thinking they could have probably bought in because, like, wait a minute. That's 3 of these 4 people that's gone and 3 plagues. We can start to connect the dots and save Dave Bautista. But they didn't. They let him die as well. Right? So anyway, and it turns out one of the saddest parts of the film, I didn't cry or anything like that, but no, I didn't. No, I'm going to say it was still kind of sad because, when it's all said and done, the one guy that's left with his daughter, he realizes that these people were real people. Like, they wasn't just psycho nuts. Like, all the stories that they were sharing were genuine stories because they go through their bag and they find pictures of the lady with her son. They go through the bag to see Dave Bautista with his team, like he said. So they realize, like, these people were real people and they made real sacrifices. So it really taps into your heart on a different way. Like, what will you give? What will you sacrifice? I always believe that love, when people say I love you, or when they talk about love, I always felt like love just means sacrifice. It doesn't mean the warm and fuzzies. It means sacrifice. What do you love so much that you will sacrifice for it? And sacrifice means to give. Now, human, the human mind is all about taking, me, give it. It's all for me. But when a human can take a moment to say, I won't take, I'll give, that's when love is involved. It's sacrifice involved. Like I said, God so loved the earth the world that he gave his son. So that tells you he loves the world. He loves us as people because he sacrificed. He gave something back. So that's what I think this film starts to tap into. How much do you love each other? And it's sacrifice love. And can you love people you don't know, that being the world? Because for all intents and purposes, these 2 guys and their daughter, they could have just said, hey, screw the world. We love each other and we'll see this out. And it's crazy because the film makes you double think and say, wait, even if they do stay with each other and the entire world dies, they still die too. Or at least they have a very hard and tumultuous life because you don't have paramedics. You don't have people to cook for you. You got to do everything yourself. All the food will probably be eviscerated in fire. So that's when you start to realize, like, they're going to die regardless if this is real. Because at some point in the film, I was still wondering, is this real? Is this really what's going to happen? And it turns out it was. Okay, but that's my review of the film, and I know it's late, but I just stayed. It impacted me so much that I said I want to just go ahead and put it up. I want it to be a part of my archive of videos. If you can't tell, I do a little bit of everything. So I was like, I want my thoughts on this film to be encapsulated in time, because 5, 10, 15 years from now, I want to come back and like, yeah, I remember that film. I'm gonna watch it again because it was really good. But anyway, thank you for watching and stay safe out there. Peace.